Hey guys, this is Dane with Everything Board Games. Today we're going to be taking a look at Magnate, the First City. This is by James Naylor and it's going to be coming to Kickstarter soon. Let's go ahead and see what's in the box. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff in the box. We have tenant tokens. These tokens tell you what kind of tenant they are, if they're residential or if they are industrial or commercial. And then it also tells you how much income and how many population it brings in. Here we have for sale tokens. On the back side, each of these have coordinates of where the sell sign gets put up, and that tells you what properties are available. Here we have marketing tokens. I will explain these a little bit later. We've got the boards that get placed out into the center of play. There's a whole bunch of different ones, so there's different variable setups that can be done. We have dice, and we've got a round tracker token, and then also the market collapse token. We've got player tokens. This designates the areas that players own out on the board, and then each player also gets their own envelope. We've got new tenant cards. This tells you what kind of tenants are going to come out in the next round. And then we've got risk cards. Risk cards are typically bad things that will happen, even though we've found that this cost of land sometimes helps us out. We've got a main board that keeps track of the cost of land, the different turn order that's happening, and then things to do at the end of the round. Keeps track of what tenants are available, and then there's some housekeeping things, and we'll go through these in detail as we come across them during the play. Let's see, we've got some reference cards over here, and then we've got some money. But what's really cool about this game are these really cool 3D printed buildings. And these buildings, well, I should say this for everything that you're seeing right now, it's all prototype. But man, is it a fantastic prototype. All right, that's what comes in the box. Let's go ahead and see how to set this thing up. Okay, here we have the setup for a two-player game of Magnate, the First City. As you can see, it takes up quite a bit of table space, which is absolutely cool. So let's start. Each player will receive their player tokens, which will mark their properties, 4 marketing tokens, and then $2 million in cash, which they will put in their cool company wallet. Each player will also receive a couple player aids that will help them determine what they need to roll to attract tenants, and then also the requirements of population around them, and then also the cost of various buildings that they want to build throughout the game. All right, over here we have a pool of tenants, the tokens for that, the sales tokens, the dice, the marketing tokens. We've got our main board here set up with the round tracker here and the crash token there, and then this cool slide right here setting our base price for all our lots at 300,000. Oh, it looks like I forgot to put my startup tenants up there. I'll grab that in just a second. We also shuffle up our new tenant and risk decks and place them there. And then to set up the board, what we do is we draw, for a 2-player game, we draw 6 for sale tokens, and you can see on the back, they all have a number. So what we do to find where this for sale token goes is we find the 4 around here, and then we find the E that's out on this board, and that's where we place that. Now you'll notice that some of these spaces say that it can't be for sale. If when you're setting up the game you come across one of those, you discard it and grab a new one. Later in the game, as you draw those, you actually have to just discard it, and there's no lot that gets to go in its place. Now here in the center board, this is a board that the players don't control. It's just initially set up to help build the population of residential and retail and office space, industrial as well, and set values so that as the game goes along, these will affect some of the things that happen out around the city here. You can see that there are 2 retail buildings, 2 industrial buildings, 2 office buildings, and then 2 residential buildings. And they each have a certain amount of tenant tokens, sorry for the shadow, in there. You'll also notice on these tenant tokens that they are 2-sided. One side is kind of a basic, it just says retail. You're going to earn 300,000 each time you collect income. It actually helps to attract office tenants around it, and then it's got 1 population. If you flip it on the back side here, it's a boutique that actually gets you 500,000 and has 1 population to it. Now you can play the game with it like this, that's the advanced variant, but I'm going to just be kind of teaching you today the basic version that just takes this side. So once the board is all set up, you actually start the game by skipping the first couple phases. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get to the next round, and we'll start going turn by turn with how you play the game. All right, so we are back. We just finished the first round, and I'll explain why I went ahead and skipped the first round as far as showing you guys. The first round, you will actually skip the bidding phase, which is bidding for turn order, and you also skip the attract tenants phase. So you immediately start in on player action phase and then move into the end of round property market phase. So we are starting a new round here. And what you typically do is you will bid to see who will be the first player. The reason for this is you might be trying to get precious tenants and you want to be the first to do that. Or you might be wanting to get certain pieces of land, because as the game goes on, land can get harder and harder to go ahead and get. Now, what we've decided, and it's actually in the rule books, is that we can just have a first player, and we're using that first player marker, the truck, to designate who that is. And I've got my helper here today. He's going to be the second player helping us here. And he is going to show us what we're going to do. In the first phase is bidding, but again, we'll just say that he won the bid. And so now we're going to move on to the attract tenants. So can we attract any tenants right now?
No.
Why?
Because we don't have any buildings.
No, we haven't built any buildings out there so far. We've got some land. We were both able to purchase a little bit of land. You can see I got that piece of land there. My helper got that piece and that piece right there, and then I also bought that. And we'll talk about how we bought those moving on to this next phase. So the first phase is bidding. The second phase is attracting tenants, which we'll show you hopefully next turn. And then the next phase after that is player actions. All right, do you remember the player actions you can do?
Yes, you can build, you can buy land, and you can consult. Okay, which and gives you money. There's 2 other things you can do. You can opposite of buy. Sell buildings, yep. And you can get these. You can get marketing. Okay, which so let's helps you get those things. Yep. Let's first talk about buying land. So you can see out here we've got for sale signs all around the board, and those plots are all available to be bought. And the way you determine how much the land costs is over here on our main board. You see the price of land right here, and it's at $300,000. So you can spend $300,000 and exchange one of your player tokens for one of the for sale signs out there. So that's one of the options. The second thing that you can do is to build a building. So to build a building, you look on this reference card, you decide which building you want to build, and then you look at the price that's underneath that. Okay, and then once you've paid your money, you just go ahead and grab one of the buildings out of the supply. You put it, here we'll pretend, you can put it like out here, and then you put your, oops, so like I don't own that land. So let's say that I decide I want to build this industry right here. I would put it out, and then I would put my marker on that. And as my helper is also shown here, is there's these cool
plot cards that actually show how things are developed. So that would be building. Okay, but I didn't actually build that, so we're going to take that back. The next option that you can do is you can consult. Now, consulting just means you're going to be taking money. Taking money means that you're going to take money from the bank equal to the amount of land value on that round. And this will fluctuate from round to round. So in this case, if you wanted to consult, you would get $300,000. Okay. The next thing you can do is market. To market, you just basically take 2 marketing chips, and we'll explain what these do in a minute, and put them in your supply. If you want to take more, each marketing token costs $500,000. And then the final action you can do is selling. And again, we will explain selling a little bit later on. So you get first action, and what is your action going to be?
I'm going to consult.
Okay, he's going to consult, so he takes $300,000 and puts it into his wallet. I think that this is going to be hard, one-handed, holding the camera, trying to get money out of a wallet. The wallets are so that other players don't know how much money you have. And the whole name of this game, or the way that you win, is by having the most money at the end of the game. I'm going to go ahead and buy another piece of land here. So I pay my $300 over here to the bank. I was doing it off camera. So I just put $300 in, and then I'm going to take one of my tokens, and I'm going to grab this lot up here. And so I just take this for sale token, and I remove it from the game, put it in discard, and put my card out there. Okay, so it's your turn again. What is going to be your second action? Oh, and by the way, we should be moving this marker down so we're on our second action there.
I'm going to buy some land.
Okay, so you're paying your $300 to the bank. And
I want this.
Okay, so you put that, discard that, and you put one of your tokens down. Perfect. All right, so for my next action, I'm going to actually buy a building here. So we look at our reference card here, and we can see the prices. Like a single house costs $400,000, apartments cost $3 million. We can see I only have $1.4 million. So we come in here, and I'm going to go ahead and go with a retail unit. Okay, so I've got my other helper here. He is going to hand me one of these buildings. And I'm going to place my retail, thank you, sir. I'm going to place my retail building, I believe, right here. Oh, can I have a plot of land, sir? Perfect. So I've got this beautiful little strip mall now that is mine, all mine. But unfortunately, it doesn't have any tenants. Okay, and so I'm going to pay 1.2. Just want to make sure that nobody out there in TV land thinks I'm cheating. There's my 1.2. I'm now broke, and it's your third action.
Okay, I'm going to consult one last time.
All right, he's consulting one last time, and since I'm broke, I will be doing the same. I just took my $300,000 from the bank for consulting, and again, I do that because over here it shows that land value and consulting value is $300,000. All right. So we are at the end of a round where we go into our property management portion, and just kind of, I call it the cleanup. So the way this works is we start up here in this upper corner. Sorry for the shadows. We can see right up here, it says remaining tenants. If there are still tenants in all 4 spots, we don't draw any cards. If there's any 3, we don't draw cards. If there's any 2, then we have to draw 2 risk cards, and if there is just 1 or none, then we have to draw 3 risk cards. Well, luckily, we've got all our tenant spots filled up since nobody took any tenants this round, so we are good to go. Next, we look at the current price. If the current price is in the green, no cards. Yellow, 1 card, risk card. Orange, 2 risk cards. Red and darker red, 3 and 5 risk cards. You can see that we are still in the green here. We don't actually hit yellow until we get up to 800,000. Next, we look to see if anybody spent any advertising. And since we didn't attract any residents this round, we absolutely did not spend any marketing. So if you look here, if you spend 0, you have to draw 1 risk card. So let's go ahead and do that. We draw our risk card. Again, sorry for the shadows. And it says move down 1 on the crash track and move 1 down on the land cost. So the way this works is we're going to take our crash marker and we're going to move it down 1, and then we're going to take our whole slide here and move it down 1. So now land, it stays at 300,000, but you can see it's getting lower and lower as we go. All right, the next thing we look here is we see if anybody sold anything. And if nobody did, we look at this first thing. If somebody did 1 or we did 2 or 3, then it goes up. But since nobody did anything, we're going to go up 1 in the price. So we actually move this back, but we have to take another risk card. So we take the risk card. Ooh, look at that ugly. Crash track moves down 3 and the price drops 1 again. So we move this one, and then this one's going to go from 9 to 6.
What does that do?
Well, as soon as, that's a good question, as soon as the crash marker gets all the way to this position, the game is over. Okay, the market has crashed, the game is over, and then whoever has the most money, including properties after they're sold, win the game. Okay, so now that we've gone through the property management phase, we're going to do the end of round stuff. So there's 2 things you do at the end of the round. One is you draw 2 new tenants. So we're going to draw 1, and we get 2 new retail tenants. Well, we've got a lot of retail tenants going on here. Boop. Look at that, that's a big stack of retail. And then we're going to take 2, and we're going to get 3 more. This is a retail happy place. It's a good thing I just built a retail building. Woo! There's lots of people for me. All right, so we go ahead and stack them up, and now we get 3 new for sale land or plots. So we take 3 from here, and we flip them over, and we see where they go. This one goes to 2F. So we come over here to 2, and we find F, and we can see that we cannot build there. So this gets discarded, and then that's 1 less property that we get to buy. This next one is blank, so we treat that the same way. It's 1 less property to buy. And then finally 2C. So again, we're here. Oh, and it's up in the airport again. So that's 3 tiles in a row that aren't being put out on the board. So you can see that we went from having lots of lots for sale down to 1, 2, 3. Yep, I think that's it, 3. Okay, so now once we do our cleanup, our end of round stuff, we go back to the beginning and we start our new round, and that will start with bidding for first player. And then we'll come back in just a minute to walk you through the tenant attraction phase. Okay, we're back. So the start of the new round, we choose who goes first. That will be me. And we start with the attract tenants phase. And so we can see out on the board, there's only 1 person that currently has a building out there, and that's me. So I'm going to attract tenants. And here's how this works. Oh, you can't put a house out here, man. So we are going to look at our tenant types. And we can see that I'm looking at the retail. And what I need to do for the retail is I'm going to collect dice equal to the number of nearby residential population. So we're going to look out on the board, and I'm going to show you how we do that. So since I am here on this board, I'm going to look at all the adjacent boards. And so I'm going to look at this board, and this board, and of course the board I'm on myself. Now, there's no tenants here. There's no tenants here. There's none on the board that I'm on. But if we go to the center board, we've got tenants. Now, there's 3 tenants in this stack and 3 tenants in this stack. So that's a total of 6. So I'll be rolling 6 dice. Now, you might be asking, okay, great, why are we rolling 6 dice? Well, what we do to attract tenants is we have to roll a number of, I don't like calling them pairs because you don't have to have pairs, but you can see here on retail, the small office building the small retail building requires 2 5s. You can see that. Oh, it's hard to point and hold at the same time. You can see that right here. It says 2 5s. Now, what really that means is that I have to have at least a 5 and 5 or 5 and 6 or 6 and 6 in order to attract one retail resident. Okay, so I'm going to be rolling my 6 dice, and I'm going to be trying to get as many 5s and 6s as I can possibly get. Now, there are a couple things that help you out. First is marketing tokens. Before you roll, you can say, I'm putting 1, 2, 3, 4 marketing towards attracting tenants. And what that does is it automatically changes one of your dice rolls into a 5 for each marketing token that you spend. Now, the other thing that helps you is what's going on around the area that you're trying to attract tenants to. So you can see here, we've got this cool little icon of retail space with an arrow up and a plus. That means that each of my dice rolled are going to get an additional 1 added on to them, just because that's there. If you look over here, you can see again there is another icon showing the retail with a +1. And then if you look down, oh, yep, down here on this board there is another. So that's 3 within these 3 boards that are giving me +3 to all my rolls. But if we go over here, we can see that we see 2 more of those icons right here and right here. Now, because these are the same type of icons giving bonuses, you only count 1. So we'll only be able to get a +1. So if you did your math, we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4 added on to each dice number. So if I roll 1s and add 4, I'm guaranteed to get 5. So in this case, I'm not going to use any marketing. I'm going to roll my 6 dice. And it's really kind of a moot point because I've got 6 here, 6 here, or 2 sets of 6s, and that's going to get me the 2 tenants that I can have in my building. Now let me show you where I've got that from. Okay, you can see down here on the buildings, if you go to a retail unit, you can have 2 tenants. So I've got my 2 tenants by rolling at least 5s or higher and making 2 sets of them. So I'm going to go up to our tenant board. I'm going to grab 2 of the tenants, and I'm going to put them down here in my retail space. Now, the last part of this phase of attracting tenants is collecting the rent. Now you can see I've got 2 tenants, and they each get me $300,000. So I'm going to go ahead and get $600,000. I'm going to have my helper's playing with the first player token. Will you give me one of these and one of these? He also wanted to be the banker. Thank you, sir. All right, so I just collected income. Now it would be the next player's turn to attract tenants, and then it would go back and forth until all tenants are attracted. But there's no tenants. There's no other buildings out there. So with that phase being done, the attract tenants, we go ahead and move into our actions again. And we will come back in just a minute to show you what happens when you sell or any other crazy things come up. All right, so we've gone a little bit further, and we've got our first action where somebody wants to sell. My little buddy over here wants to sell his retail place, which is kind of a tough decision considering our bad fortune with the market right now is all the way down at 100,000. So to sell, the way we determine how much property is valued at, try to not get my shadow in here, is we count the building as 1, the property itself is 2, each resident as 1, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and now each bonus is 1. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's going to get 7 times the property value. So we go back over the property value. Property value is 100,000. So 7 times 100,000 is 700,000. So what he does is he takes his marker, pulls it off the board, and comes and puts it onto this board, which will affect us as we do our market phase. And then we give him 700,000. So there's 5 and 2. All right, so that is selling, and that is a big part of the end of the game as well. let's go ahead, since that was the third action, let's go to the property market phase. We're going to look, we're still doing good up here with the tenants that are wanting to come into our city. We're still in the green. We're way far down in the green. I spent marketing that turn, so we're not going to have to pull a risk card. He did his sell, so we're going to go up 2 on the property value. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And then last but not least, we are going to draw 2 new tenant cards. So we get 2 basic retailers and 2 basic homes. And then we're going to pick out 3 new properties. We'll come back when we hit another milestone. Okay, so we've played through many more rounds. As you can see, there's a lot more buildings out on the board, a lot more residents, and guess what? The market has officially crashed, signaling the end of the game. So the way you do final round scoring is we're going to take properties off the board and we are going to sell them basically for the current market value. So the current market value is at 5. So let's go ahead and we'll start with player 2 here, Mr. FBI, and let's go ahead and start looking at your properties. So let's look at this one. So we're going to sell this property, so we first find out what the multiplier is. It's 1 for the building, 1 for the property, and now we look for any bonuses. So he's got 1 here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, minus 1, it takes it back down to 5, and then minus another 1 right here. There's 2, but you only take the 1. Takes it down to a 4. So then we do 4 times 500,000 for that building right there, which puts us at 2 million. Okay, for that property. So let's go ahead and take that off of there. Okay, now let's look for what other properties you own. You own this cool mall down here, right? All right. So this mall, let's go ahead and take out your owner token. This mall has 6 residents, the building and the lot. So that is 8 right now. There's no bonuses over here. There is a bonus here, so that's 9. And then there is a bonus up here on both of those, but again, we take 1, so that is 10. So then we do 10 times 500,000. Anybody gonna do math on that real quick for me?
What?
10 times 500,000. It's 5 million.
Yeah.
Go ahead and grab 5 million. And then do you have any other property, any land that you own? I see land right here.
Yeah.
So that's 500,000.
5.
So go ahead and grab 500,000 for this one. We'll grab 500,000 for this one.
1 million.
And then do you have any other land out there? All right, I'm looking around the board here for you. All right, so let's start in this sector. I don't own anything in this sector. I do own this industrial park though. So we're gonna take out my marker. I've got the building, the lot, and then I've got a total of 9 residents there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to get a plus, that's 12. A plus over here is 13, and a plus over here is 14. So 14 times 5. Okay, so that equals 7 million for my industrial park. So now we're going to scoot up here. I own this mall right here. Again, we've got 6 people. The building is 7, the land is 8 for the multiplier, and then we look at anything adjacent. We've got 9 right there, 10 right there, 11, 12, and then 13. So we've got 13 times 5 is 6,500,000. So that's what my mall, I'll go ahead and take my marker off of that. We're gonna keep going around. Oh, there's my little banker. Thank you, banker. I have nothing in that region, and then I have one large apartment building here that is full of residents, so that's 5. And then I've got 6 for the building, 7 for the land, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, minus 1 is 11, so 11 times 5 is 5.5 million. All right, so that takes care of that building, and now I've got another mall right here that is going to have, I believe, 6 residents, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then look for bonuses, none right here, 9, 10, and none down here. So that is just going to give me straight 5 million for the lovely mall. And then last but not least, I've got a little office building over here that is going to give me, I've got 6 residents, 7 for the land, 8 for the building, no bonuses up there, no bonuses down there, and then 9, 10 is going to give me another $5 million. All right, so after we tally all the scores, it looks like I ended up with $52.5 million, and my little buddy over here ended with $15.5 million. Anyway, hey, tell me what you thought.
It's really fun. I like how amazingly detailed these are.
They're super fun to play with, huh?
Yes.
And it looks cool once it's out on the board.
Definitely.
Yeah. I noticed that you really like to save up your money and buy the bigger buildings.
Yeah.
It's funny, we never saw any of the mega office buildings come out, but that was because we just never had that many office tenants come out. I think you can see over here, we had this office building had 1 tenant, and I had 2 tenants over here for that office building, but then no more ever came out. So this game plays a little bit differently each time because it really depends on what tenant cards come out, is what tenants are available. So you're really playing to the strength. We found that both office and residential, or sorry, retail and residential was crazy in demand the entire game, and so you can see there's quite a bit of office buildings or retail buildings and residential buildings built. Now, one other interesting thing as you're playing this game is, I think one of the things that hurt my playing partner is he built his big residential building down here in an area that really doesn't like residential. So he does get a plus here, but he gets a minus here, a minus here. I already took off the people there, but there was a minus there, another minus here. So he was a -1 when he was rolling for residents for that building. So unfortunately, in his one attempt to do it, he didn't get it, and so he just immediately sold the building. I think he was actually able to, were you able to make back your money on that? Yeah, I think he made back his money on that.
Yeah, a little bit. I got 1.9, I think.
So overall, this game, I love city builders. They're some of my favorite style of games. I love the fact that this little truck is going through, trashing the town. Hey, it's a trash truck, trashing the town. Anyway, I really love the choices of this game. We found that if you're not marketing and not selling land, that these risk cards come out really fast and the game can end really quickly. So if you want to build up and keep the game going longer, it's smarter to be marketing and to be selling property during the game. And besides, selling property gets you tons of money if you do it at the right time. Even sometimes it's good to do it even at a lower price, because when you sell, it automatically drives up the price of the land. So there's really good realism simulation going on in this game.
Except for the giant trash truck.
Except for the giant trash truck. As far as how the market responds to buying and selling, the demand for the different tenant types that we saw, I love how that fluctuates and changes the game up.
Except my mall is still alive.
It's hard to compare this game to anything. Some people might say it's in the SimCity vein, but it's really a little bit different than that too, because you're not managing power and water and the influx of crime and that kind of stuff. It's more, and I hate to even mention this, but it's more along the veins of Monopoly, where you're buying and selling properties, but it does it in a smart, better way, where players aren't necessarily just trashing on each other the whole time during the game. There is a way that players can mess with each other. For example, my playing partner could have bought land up here if it would have gone for sale and put a big industrial park up there. And of course, that would have made it really hard for me to attract tenants in that area. So again, another really cool mechanism in the game to help keep the flow of the ups and downs of the real estate market in the game. Overall, really enjoy this game. Again, this is a prototype, but the production value is off the chart. I mean, even if I got a final game that was in this quality of components, I'd be super excited. Yeah, the money is paper, but it's pretty good paper. It's definitely not Monopoly paper. It's thick and it's glossy, and
yes.
So I like the money, and I don't know if I'd do it a different way. I think I'd keep it that way. Anyway, overall, really enjoyed this game. Really looking forward to seeing it on Kickstarter. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.